All right, guys, welcome back. This is the Power Hour podcast. We're here back at Fidelity again this week. I got, of course, my partner in crime, Jeremy Montoya. I'm
It's
Jeff
going.
Smith. And yeah, just glad to hang out with you guys. Andrew's not here this week, but I will go find him and bring him back next time.
I know. Where's he at?
He did something stupid. He bought a house,
Oh,
and then he decided he's going to live in this house.
oh,
And then he decided, I'm going to buy this house sub two, and then I'm going to live in the house. So terrible decisions made all around. No, it's actually a really
yeah.
pretty house. He's really happy there. So they're busy
I'm
getting
so
that
happy
fixed
for
up.
them. That's so awesome.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. And the dog is excited with a big backyard. And yeah, I think he got into that house for like 10 or 15 grand.
Wow.
And it's like probably like a $280,000 house. So it's got the mortgage in place and everything. It was a great deal
Yeah,
on market.
Francesco. Yeah, Francesco was saying about some of the walking paths and some of the things like with park that they're going to put in there in 2024, I think. So
Yeah,
she was like super excited about it. So
yeah, it was a great community. So
yeah,
anyway, but I want to introduce George Paredes has been here. Damn, dude, like when did you start coming to Power Hour?
I think I was kind of in the beginning of it, starting off at Rudy's Barbecue over
Yeah,
in West Spring.
yeah, I know you were at Rudy's when we got started, and George has really been a champion of bringing more people in and just
yes,
being extremely inviting and welcoming. So I particularly appreciate him being around doing that. So George, I guess one of our big things that we love about the Sub Two group and Power Hour in particular is community. So why did this community draw you in as much as it did? It's not like we're the only investor group around.
True. That's a good question, Jeff. Learning from other mentorships that I've been part of, it doesn't have that same kind of attachment to where you being in Houston, you have so many people here willing to help out and having something like Power Hour to where you're able to invite non sub two students that are interested in investing just come along and get good at what they're doing, and having people like yourself and Jeremy as certified closers to help mentor and give tips as they go, as they get better at what they're doing, and just having that community to where you don't realize you have to do it all. You have people that can help you along the way.
So, so I want to say something about George. So I walk around Power Hour all the time, and I'm like, "Oh, how'd you hear about us?" And they're like, "George. George told me. George told me."
He's got like a
Yeah,
50% batting average. Like
yeah.
if he was working on commission somehow, he'd probably
I
be
know. If
making
we were
more money
charging
than
for
all of
Power
us.
Hour to come here, he'd be he'd be making a lot of money off of that.
Right.
So, and every time you're here, I always see you. You're always like in the room making phone calls yourself, but you're also like always helping everybody else out on the phone. That's something I always see in you when you're doing that.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So and that's not everybody does that. They go out and invite people in. So um, George, I guess one, like pat yourself on the back for a little bit of that. But you know, like why do you feel it's important to bring in more people? I mean, you could have just kept it to
Yeah.
yourself.
Just that thing that Pace teaches us about being a go giver and knowing that I like to relate stuff to like going to high school as a freshman. You're walking in the cafeteria. You got Jeff Smith with his Letterman jacket. You got Monique over there in his group. To where sometimes you kind of feel alone, or maybe they have everybody that they need in that group. To where sometimes you got to create your own group. To where I have the time available to be able to share and learning from you and from Jeremy. To where the only thing I'm only a couple chapters ahead, and it's being able to help people, I guess, shorten that learning curve to where you don't have to learn everything. Let me talk to you. There's this thing every Saturday we can come to 10 to 12. You don't have to be in sub two. Just come along and learn, and just be that go giver at the end of the day, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that's such a great thing you brought up, being the go giver, where you were in that place before, where you were looking for a community, then you found one, and you want to go and share that with other people. So yeah,
True.
we really appreciate you being here with us, George.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Thank you, George. We
Yeah.
appreciate seeing you.
I appreciate you guys.
So what else are you working on? How can people reach out to you?
Just being part of the Project Forward challenge that Pace has, and just being able to say to reach out to people and starting a YouTube page just like you guys, and just being able to share the main thing, which for me it's important, is real estate mindset and faith, to where it's bringing, maybe possibly you can come to my little YouTube podcast as well, and share stuff and just share different aspects in real estate, to where it's so many ways to get make money, but also it's so many ways you can get lost. Because
Yeah.
you see Jeff doing land, you see this person doing multifamily, so where you don't know where to go, and it's about trying to get centralized and learning one thing.
So George, what's your YouTube channel?
It's my name, George Paredes, just with the D in front of it, the George Paredes, and that's it. That's YouTube.
Is that your YouTube? All right.
Yeah.
What about your Instagram?
Instagram at Mr. Buy Your Home. That's what it is. All one word.
All right. Awesome. All right. So we have our producer Regina here,
Yeah.
and she's just behind the camera. And part of the fun of making a new podcast is like getting the flow together and like how all of this works and the rhythm. So Regina, let me see the board again. What am I supposed to do?
All right, George, can you talk a little bit about the biggest win and the biggest challenge you had this week in your business?
Oh, that's
Ooh.
good. Okay, biggest win and biggest challenge, George.
Ooh, that's a good
Oh,
question.
nice one. The biggest win is what I do during the week. I try to I have like an open office where I'm helping newer students get better on the phone. So one of my, I guess not my students, but my teammates actually got comfortable on the phone and locked up a creative deal.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
so that's the biggest win, to like, oh, this is actually working. Like, going back to the goal giving and why we're doing this is to help other people see that inner light or that inner power that they have within themselves. And as far as the challenge was actually writing up the Trek contract and getting over myself, like, oh man, I want to make this so perfect, to where it's like, man, you big dummy, just do it, get it done. And if something happens, that's what the title company is there for. That's why you have, the group for, to help you out. But
Fall forward, right?
yeah, fail forward. Yeah, learning that failure is not bad. It's actually good. You learn from failure way quicker. And those are my two wins and I guess losses, but not really losses, learning experiences.
No, that's so good. All right. Hey, George, thanks so much for being here on the podcast. We
Cool.
appreciate
Yeah, we
you.
appreciate you, George.
Thank you guys.
The other thing, like, we also want to be able to do is, if people have questions about, real estate or creative or whatever, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're in our studio audience, be sure you talk with Regina, ping us so we can talk about that. But the next guy we want to bring up, his name's Malcolm. Come on over, Malcolm. And
How's it going?
known Malcolm a while. Yeah, studio applause. Yeah. So I've known Malcolm a bit. We really met. We met in Sub 2, and we were running a virtual assistant, like daily dial, like once a week, and it was specifically for them. And it was you, me, and Steve.
Yep.
What was
Steve,
it? What's his last
Van
name?
Munster.
Van Meter. Yeah,
Van
Steve
Meter.
Van Meter. God,
Van Munster.
Van Munster. Yeah, God.
I like that one
He's
better.
he's gonna watch. He's gonna watch this YouTube video and he's gonna send me a nastygram. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Oh God, no.
He'd be
Steve,
laughing his head off. He's such a funny guy.
he would
actually. Yeah.
crack up. He's awesome. Look up Steve Van Meter. Yeah, so we ran this thing for probably a year.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, and we do this every Wednesday. And we got to a point where we had about 50 VAs who were showing up every
Yeah.
single week to get training. So Malcolm, tell us about, like, what are you working on nowadays in your real estate career?
Yeah, so I've just been going through a lot of stuff, but really focused back onto the investing side. Do a bit of private money lending, which Pace loves to say, but I feel like that's where I give back a lot. There's a lot of people that jump into private money lending with eagerness, and so I like to give back with advice. There's a lot of private money lenders out there that get in and they want to immediately lend money. So that is something that I'm quite happy to talk to anybody about and give them my experience on the Go Giver side. But from my perspective, we've dialed back on cold callers at the moment, and our intention is just really getting buy and holds, and we're creative investors, and we're looking for stuff in Texas and in Florida and the Carolinas primarily. So for those that don't know me, I'm actually based out of Seattle, and
You don't sound like it.
Yeah.
I tell people that this is actually just a regional accent of Washington, but people don't seem to believe me. Yeah, I'm originally Australian as well. For those that don't know, and if you grow up in Sydney, or if you live in Sydney at all, Sydney is a city that is heavily real estate focused. Actually, so I had the bug before I even came to the US 20 years ago. So, um, but yeah, if anybody is interested in assigning me their sub two deals, that's what I'm looking for at the moment. So, but they have to be cash flowing, and I I've done a bit of multifamily work, and I've done the cold calling, and I'm working on that. I'm not jumping from point to point, but I'm willing to give the advice of what I've learned in the process. So
So
yeah.
so what areas are you looking for to buy in?
So the focus is for my wife and I to actually get midterm rentals and just get that cash flow going. I still work a W-2 on the side.
Mhm.
I have, or am I doing real estate on the side? You work it
Whatever,
out.
however you balance out, right?
Yeah, bounce around. But just want more cash flowing income uh, versus having just real estate
Are
as
you, are you
such.
buying here in Texas?
Yeah, I'm buying here in Texas. We just got a midterm rental going in San Antonio. Got our first people into that one last week. So we finished setting up and got our first customers there. So
That's amazing.
yeah, so I really love the Texas market. I was saying to Jeff, Texas advertises us as it advertises itself as being oil and cowboys and guns, and that's it. And I think for the rest of the country, unless you've been here, you don't really understand it. And there's a lot more going on here. And the triangle here, I was discussing it with sub two members up in Washington last night, and we were just discussing how this is going to be a really amazing area for the next 20 years. So
Yeah.
very impressed with the area. So,
Yeah.
but the best part is I'm in sub two, and I've got a bunch of friends to visit and meet in person when I go all over the country. So
That's amazing.
So one of the things that I like to teach new investors in particular, and when they get started, they get real excited about sellers who say, "I'll sell for the right price as long as it's a good deal." And I say, "I'll sell my house for the right price. It just happens to be $10 million on the
Yes.
MLS. I'm probably only selling it for 280, but whatever. I'll sell for the right price." But I also think it's really important that they understand it's the same thing on buyers. The buyers say, "I'll buy anything that's a deal. I'll buy anything that looks good on paper." And we think, "Oh my God, I have this fantastic buyer." It's like, it's the same answer.
Yeah.
So for you, how do you recommend people talk with you or any buyer, like, to find out what that right price is? Like an example of what you believe are the right, or Jeremy's got a mic for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Like, what constitutes a deal for you, and what is that criteria for cash flow? Is it $50? Is it 400? What? Give us some
Yeah.
clarity.
It really depends. So I'll talk generally first, then go specifically for myself, for example.
Sure.
It's important to understand some key metrics of what the buyer is looking for. So, what are they going to do with the property? What's their risk tolerance, and those sorts of things. So, I'm in the more conservative category. I'm looking to be buying sub twos, which doesn't sound necessarily conservative in that respect, but I need to know that the cash flow will allow me to fall back into an LTR position, into a long-term rental position. So I don't want to be buying something where if it's with the intention that I'm going to turn the property into a midterm rental. And so if I'm not going to wrap a property, for example, for me. And so you need to understand what it is. There's a lot of sub twos out there at the moment for assignment, but they pretty well all say only midterm rentals. So people that are looking to buy are not going to necessarily want to buy that one, because if they get into trouble, they're going to fall out. They're going to have to actually put their own money into it, and that's not what the purpose of it is. So
That's a really good point that you're raising here. Is, as we're hearing Malcolm's his strategy, it's if you don't know what your buyer's exit strategy is, you can't understand what they're looking for to fill the order. Because there are people out there and they buy and say, "Yep, Airbnb midterm rental all day long. I love it. I don't care." But that's not every buyer out there, so that's why it's so important to understand. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of people. I do agent outreach as well, and I'm seeing a lot of properties. There's one I'm looking at the moment in Florida, where I'm not getting all the noise from it or all the explanation from it, but it looks like they set it up as an Airbnb, and they're now trying to get out of it, and I'm trying to work out the underlying, but I don't want to be in that position where I'm trying to get out of something. So it's important to know that, and then you need to, as you said, know what they're looking for cash flow. If they're looking to long-term rental it, probably 500 a month of free cash flow once you paid all your expenses per month, and that's all the expenses, your PITI, but also management fees or whatever else. Or if I'm trying to do a midterm rental, and a lot of the time the idea is to house hack. In certain markets, we'll house hack and get more tenants in there. And
So Malcolm, real quick, can you tell people what you mean by house hack?
so basically splitting the house up so that you can have multiple tenants in the property at the same time. So uh, one way is to split the house in half and put in an extra kitchenette if you've got a 3-2. So if you split it down the middle, and if you've got a big backyard, you can then build a father-in-law or mother-in-law suite at the back, that sort of thing. So, and just instead of having one door, you've got 3 doors all at once for
Yeah.
the
So
same price. So
yeah. So traditionally, like when people heard house hacking, like if you go into bigger pockets, usually what they're talking about is you buy a duplex, you live in one of them, and you get rent from the other side, and that covers the cost. You could do this with a fourplex or triplex. And what's really creative about what Malcolm's talking about is it's not house hacking in the sense that you're living there. You could, but what he's doing is he's taking an existing house and then expanding on its ability to generate income by converting it into a duplex, by putting a trailer in the back or whatever it is, that now this property has grown from a single house and now all of a sudden you got multiple doors on it.
yeah, exactly. And so if you're in Florida where you can pick up a property for say 300,000 and it's a 3-2, you've now you put up one wall and you've got a duplex there. You just sort of ignore the council a bit, but
And there's some permitting requirements. Do your research on
yeah.
that.
But you've now gone for a relatively low amount. You've gone for one door for 300,000 to 2 doors for, at 150 each. And so what you find is that if you renting a property, a 3-bedroom property is maybe 2,400, but renting a 1-bedroom is going to be about 1,800. So now you've gone and not quite doubled, but added a significant amount of extra
Right.
income per month. So
Yeah.
it's
That's good. That's
yeah,
good.
it makes a lot of sense.
So Malcolm, how can people get in touch with you?
Salto.grande.investments@gmail.com is my email. I'll give it to you and put it in the podcast notes
Yep.
afterwards. It'd be
Yep, we'll
great.
do that.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect.
All right, Malcolm, thanks so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. It's good
Well,
seeing
thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we've got a first-time Power Hour attender, Gabe.
Right.
Oh wow.
Gabriel, glad you're here, man.
Yeah, glad you came out.
All right. So Gabriel's first time out at Power Hour, and I know you didn't see this one coming
Yeah,
because we did not warn you.
Yeah.
Regina
We
went and found you like 15 seconds ago.
Yep.
We just
Yeah.
find him in the crowd, broke him right out. And
It plucked him right out. It's like, we bring you here to make calls, but you may be forced to come on the
Power
podcast.
Hour.
You've been warned.
Yeah.
All right. So, take us from the top of, what were you working on before? How did you find out about Power Hour? And, what is day one like? And then you're going to have to answer to Jeremy what his questions are.
Yeah.
Well, how I found this place is through the Creative Real Estate Podcast, the site of on Facebook with Pace Morby.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I'm really just getting started. You know, I want to come here to, you know, make connections and learn as much as I can, you know, so I can really get started in real estate. You know, day one. So far, the people here are really nice. You know, it's a great place. It's a great community. I was thrown right into my first call pretty much as soon as I got here.
Did you expect that?
No, not at
No.
all. No, I just thought it was going to be more of like a little workshop, maybe just talk a little bit, just figure out what's the basics and what's going on. But I was thrown right into the deep end, and it didn't go as badly as I thought it would. It
Awesome.
went pretty well.
Awesome. So was that your first call that you ever made today, or?
Yes, first call ever. Yeah.
Okay. So what steps are you doing now to kind of, you said you're just getting into this.
Yeah.
Like what steps are you doing to start to learn how to, do all the like, are you getting on YouTube? Are you like following people? Are you reading books? What are you doing to
Primarily, I learning mostly from YouTube.
mostly from YouTube?
Mostly from YouTube. I've been following a lot of Pace Morby's content recently, and I've learned so much.
Hmm.
It's really been great.
It's been great. Awesome. Question?
Yeah. So it's funny, he came in and Gabriel's saying, like, yeah, everybody's nice. Like, haha, fooled you on this first one. But then he comes in and is like, all right, but now I got to do a call immediately. And you're
Yes.
like, hey, it's not that bad. So what do you say to, or what would you say to people who have never made a call or even thinking about coming to Power, like, oh my God, what is this going to be like? I'm so nervous. What encouragement can you give to those folks?
Hmm. It's really just about taking that first step. If you're really serious about getting started, you know, you need to network with the right people, with the people that have been in this business for so long, and it's not as bad as everyone think. You know, being hung up on, being calling around and not answering, and it's a really simple process, but it's very tedious. And I'd say that's it.
So would you say it helped you seeing a bunch of other people making phone calls? Did that help you kind of finally push you over that, that wall to make your first call?
Yeah, I'd say so. Listening to everyone else call, and especially other new people call, it's given me confidence to, you know, put myself out there. Maybe it isn't so bad. They're getting hung up on, and they're just going right
Yeah.
into the next call. They just keep on going, and it's just given me a lot of confidence, and that I can do that as well and
Yeah.
create success in this market.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I know from our studio audience somewhere we had one guy who had a question, Jamie.
Yes.
There he is. Jamie, what is your question?
All right, so we all know how great coming to Power Hour and finding a community is, but I feel like what people don't talk about enough is what you need to do outside of Power Hour, which is
Oh,
networking with people that aren't like around here, going to meetups and stuff. So my question is, what advice or questions would you suggest newbies can ask professionals or people that they look up to in the real estate industry to start making connections with the people that they'll hopefully work with down the road?
That's good. Do you want to kick that off, Jeremy?
I say.
Oh, that's a likely story. Just turned it off. No. All right. I'll take the first stab at it. So it's easy to understand like who you want to target as a potential connection when you have like your forward vision. But right now, even I'm in a space where I have drawn my entire focus lasered into a house wholesaling and flipping business. Do I want to do multifamily? Do I want to do land development? Do I want to do other things? I'm not even entirely sure at the moment, but I still want to make those connections in the meantime, in case, depending on what path I go down. So what I've always learned is one of the best things you can do is when you want to go and network with different people is you start off by leading with the value that you offer. And so instead of going up to somebody and saying, hey, what do you need? What can I do to help you? Which is very well intentioned. It forces that other person to start to suck information out of you as to, well, what can this person help me with? I don't even know. But if I go up to somebody like I met a guy at Thursday night at our meetup, he's doing all kinds of commercial real estate, multifamily, stuff about that. And I said, well, hey, Chris, it's great to meet you. I'm not sure. I'd love to work with you in the future. Here's something that I do right now. Would any of this be of value to you, or what else are you looking for? That at least allows me to put some cards on the table and say, here's something that we can expand on. And I think the other big thing is, be sure you're being humble, but showing that you are active and serious. And there's kind of a balance between um, like having an ego that's false, like, oh, I'm doing all this, damn, I'm making all these calls, and like people can just sniff through that.
I have a question to build off of something. So let's say you are so new that you don't even know what steps to take. So how would you approach it, like a meetup, networking a meetup? How would you approach somebody then, not knowing what direction you even want to go?
I think newbies actually, hopefully, they should receive actually a lot more grace than maybe they're anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this one thing, like a millionaire is not going to rip on somebody who's just starting out getting going. You go to the gym and you're overweight. The guys who have been there a long time are not ripping on someone for starting out,
Yeah.
right? So I think if you're a newbie, you actually should be encouraged to go to that networking event and be okay with the idea of, I don't know anything.
So just put yourself out there,
And put
right?
yourself out there. So if it was like guys like Jeff, I haven't even done the first thing in real estate, but I'm exploring this. I'm at this networking event. I'm actually going to have a lot of like, hey, good for you for taking that first step. Tell me what you thought about, and you'll be surprised at how many of those guys, like, because they've all been there.
Yeah.
We all remember what it was like day one in the gym, day one going to real estate and not knowing what the hell is going
Yeah.
on. And then just be okay with asking everybody, what is the first thing I should do? Soak all that up and say, hey, after I have done some work, after I have done some things, can I bump into you again? Because that's the other annoying thing is you don't want to, if it's you don't want to hear the same problems over and over again.
Yeah.
Once I see that person is building some, like they're trying, man, then I got all day for this person.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they got to help themselves before you can help them out. Right?
They just got to do something.
They got to get it going.
Right. But if they come back and say, oh, I'm still waiting to make that first call. Oh, I'm still waiting to do that first skip
Yeah.
trace. I'm like, dude, you've been talking about this for 3 months. I don't believe you anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Gabriel, hey, thanks again, man,
Yes,
for being
man.
here. Glad you come out. All right.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we got Chuka.
Ooh,
Chuka has now become our events social coordinator guy. We gave him the title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, we went to Heights Social in Houston on Thursday night. Man, what a great event
It
that
was,
we put
yeah.
together. Tell us about the awesomeness that was.
Yeah, so Heights Social, it's our meetup for Sub 2 every third Thursday. Yeah. And it's open to the public and whoever is interested in investing, real estate, and the like. And it was a great turnout. Yeah, it's a great turnout. And the one we have coming up for next month is going to be big. We should have a couple of special guests. So look forward to it. And yep.
Cool. So let's actually expand on what Gabriel just asked. It was this big networking event. It was well attended. We had there were lots of sponsors and everything. So what would you tell somebody who's new, just like, oh my God, look at all this stuff? Like, what would you tell a newbie to do on like their first networking event? How should they navigate that?
It's a good question. Good question.
Thank you. I come up with them myself.
He does. Time to time, he comes up with pretty good questions.
Definitely talk to a lot of people. And then once you meet somebody that you feel vibes with your goal and what you're trying to do in real estate, I would definitely say follow up with them, see if you can help them out in their business, how you can help them grow their business to get you started. And then from there, almost want to be like a fly on the wall with their business and see how they're doing their things. That way you can start implementing it in your own business as well.
Yeah, I think Jeremy.
Yeah, I think it's important what you're saying there, like meeting these people at this, maybe at the time, let's say the meetup, you go and you meet somebody. At the time, maybe you don't work together, but maybe a year or two, like that might be that person you come back to and you make that connection, build off of that relationship again, and continue. Maybe that's when that starts to pan out. So that's something that's really important, I think, when you go to those meetups, is meeting those people like that.
Is that something you've experienced, Chuka, as you've been to networking meetups? You find later on you've worked with them, or is that still kind of in the timeline for you?
I've started to experience it. Like Pace said, you want to find your avatar, and for me, part of my avatar is being a connector. So I try to take mental notes and notes on my phone of everybody that I meet and what they're doing, and then seeing how what I'm doing can help them. And then I always double back, look through my list, and say, okay, I met A, B, and C. They need X, Y, and Z. Let me put two and two together and see how I can help them. So
Yeah, awesome. I mean, how do you keep track of that many people? I mean, how many hundreds of people do you meet in a year? Different networking events. I mean, I barely keep track of what I'm eating for lunch today. Like, what do you do?
it definitely helps to have a spreadsheet. Um, and then eventually, I guess once the spreadsheet becomes too big, you gotta go to a CRM. But for now, spreadsheets are what I'm working with. So
I mean, it's funny. Like we laugh at it, like,
yeah,
hey, I got to have a spreadsheet for my friends. But there is something to be said, or when you're networking with people across the country and they have so many different capabilities, like you do have to take it
Yeah.
seriously at that point and really get it organized.
Yeah, I met somebody. This was out in Arizona. I can't remember. I think it was Tristan. His name was, and on his phone he had, because he had an iPhone, and he had contacts. He had all the area that they're in. He had their buy box. He had like notes on everybody. It was all broken down. He could look up people just in Texas, like Arizona, wherever. But he had hundreds and hundreds of people on his phone.
yeah, that's definitely what my spreadsheet looks like, and it has a whole bunch of colors and um.
Do the colors mean good or bad?
Yeah.
So
So we have a question from the audience. So you guys will be mind blown at this, the sheer awesomeness that is Chuka. Not only does he have amazing hair, he was on American Ninja Warrior.
No way.
That is like one of the coolest things I've ever heard. So Chuka, where can we find this video of you being a badass? Well, to be more specifically, a badass on Ninja Warrior.
It's on my Instagram. I can post it on my Instagram. And
Why is
It's-
that not on your Instagram right now? I have to come up with some insane punishment for you for not doing that already, because that's just the neatest thing.
if it's a workout, I'll do it. But yeah, it'll be on my Instagram. I'll post it this evening. Yeah.
What is your Instagram?
Instagram is the Chuka Echo.
All right.
We'll have to come up with the sub 2 insanity workout led by Chuka.
Oh, my
man.
gosh.
Oh,
All right. If
man.
you're up for the sub
Oh,
2
man.
insanity workout led by Chuka,
Oh,
then
man.
please like, comment, subscribe on this video.
Oh, man.
We'll do a health challenge for the end of the year.
Pace wants to do a health challenge, so we'll
Okay.
obviously have to have Chuka up there front and center to
All right,
be leading the
all
charge
right.
there.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
All right. I'm up for it. Yeah.
Dude,
Sounds
that's
good.
so good.
We'll take on a whole new
The new meeting of yeah, we're gonna have
I would say we're
arm.
gonna all be ripped and making phone calls at the same time.
All right, new branding plan for Houston Power Hour. We're all gonna have huge muscles. Chuka, thanks
Cool.
for hanging out and being here with us. Dude.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Appreciate it.
All right. All right. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for being here. Yay. All right. Up next, we have Sean Tall. And Sean Tall was here on the last podcast, but she continues to be amazing and is hosting us again at Fidelity. And I actually had to call Sean Tall because I was trying to work out the details of how to do a particular transaction and fronting some money early to a seller, and I wanted to do it a certain way. And Sean Tall took the call, and we worked out the problems together. But so Sean Tall, quick question on, we were talking earlier about how Fidelity and your office, really clean up some messy title issues. When investors bring you contracts, like what are a couple of the common messy title things that you've been seeing in the past couple of weeks?
everything that you can possibly think of or imagine. It is deaths in the family, it is divorces, it is foreclosures, it is, you know, being in forbearance. It's all of the above, and sometimes it is all at once. Truly, I was just talking to Quincy about that. Let's see here. So
This was our question
so
earlier,
that so
but
this is
keep talking about these title issues. We'll circle back to that one.
so anyway, on the title issue. So the situation that he was showing, there was a parent who purchased for the kids. That parent then, yeah, my understanding is got remarried, and they have another house there. Kids don't like the, you know, the new dad or the stepdad, and everything is in pre-foreclosure
Oh my
all at
gosh.
the same time. So so there's, you know, there's a lesson in life is control what you can control, you know, and accept what you can't. One of the things that you have to understand that you cannot control, and I don't know if I just turned this off.
No, it's on.
Okay, so something clicked. Anyway,
Is the green light on? Okay, take
so
this one.
anyway, one of the things to understand is that when it comes to probate, that is something that you cannot control. That's the court. So you just have to be very careful when you're setting your timelines. Take those things into consideration. Also take into consideration, depending on who the lender is in a pre foreclosure situation, that's something else you can't really control. Some banks are really, really good about responding. Some are flat out not, and you end up running out of time. You also have to take into consideration, okay, how much is owed, how much is in forbearance. This may not even be a deal for you, and you know,
Yeah.
if the numbers don't work, do not force it. You know, so those are kind of just like kind of 101 investment, you know, considerations that you have to take into account. Um, as far as on our side, um, we are making sure that title is clear. All of those things factor in. So that's the lineage of the heirship, and you know how it's going to be, you know, who it actually is in title at that point.
Right.
With this, you know, with his particular case, there's one house where it was never their homestead, but apparently that stepdad is fighting to get ownership of that, even though, you know, he never lived in it. It will all trickle back up to how is that deed filed with the county? Does it say, you know, Ann Jones purchased as a married woman but as separate property? So it's
Mm,
really important that when those deeds are first being created, that it specifies these things, because it clears up, it helps clear up a lot of issues before they happen down the road.
wow. Wow.
So
Yeah.
it is. That's what makes it so interesting. If you're really
It
nerdy,
makes it interesting. Fun's not a word I would have
yeah.
chosen. I noticeably left that out of this. So one, and I appreciate you so much for just, you know, everybody to understand like the complexity and the importance of clean title, and you need people who are experienced to deal with this. Otherwise, you can't make this transaction. You're not protected, and it's a catastrophe when problems come later. So the thing we were working on this week, and this is very common with investors who are working directly with property owners, is the sellers, you know, we're doing this cash deal, and we had 2 or 3 now who need this. They want to move out of the house, and they need some money prior to closing for a rent deposit, for moving expenses, a dump truck, whatever it is. They need some money to get out. And so, as an investor, you don't want to just write them a check because they can just wander off. You're
Yep.
not protected. So, what is the kosher way of fronting a seller like 500 or $1,000 prior to closing?
So, like in the case that we were talking about, and and I do want to say it's one of the reasons I love working with Jeff is that he is truly thoughtful, considerate. He is not predatory at all. He's truly is helping someone who's in trouble to get to the next stage of their life, which is so commendable, and I love you for that. But again, unfortunately, there are people that will take advantage of that. They will take your money and not get out of the house. So in this instance, there was 2 options on this, and you know, if I misremember, please correct me.
Do you want me to recap the scenario?
Well, no, I remember the scenario. So one of the things is like you don't want to basically take it off of the end of the like on the affect the sales price. You don't want to mess with that. You do want to make sure that you can put it in as earnest money. You can have an early release of earnest money. Is what we were talking about at first. Now, I was really reminding me. One of the things that you can do is have a seller chargeback. So the seller chargeback basically is saying that I the seller, am going to pay the end buyer. Well, in a case if you are doing a wholesale deal, that end buyer is no longer the person that gave that money. So you want to make sure that you, as as the wholesaler, have an agreement with your end buyer that there's going to be a charge to them for that same amount. It's basically a wash for them. They're getting it back from the original seller, and they're paying the middle person. That really is the best way to do that. That really is the best way to do that. It's nice and clean. It zeroes out. One of the things I know that there was an issue because I think you were thinking that title can just credit it back and it would show up at closing.
What we were trying to do was we were trying to consider it as we're going to have this larger amount of earnest money that will not be sitting in title as non-refundable. It's going to be early released. And the problem was that if it's released from title to the seller, it's no longer in the account, and therefore the issue was if it's not at the title company account, it can't be credited towards the purchase price. And the reason I was having it is like we just talked, I'm like, I'm not trying to affect the total amount of money the seller's getting. I just want to give them a little now, but it wasn't working out that way. So the solution eventually, and this is why you have to have a good escrow officer and a person and other people you can call to work out these. It was just a matter of what is the paperwork to get this done. Like that was the question. So what we ended up doing was we had sent the money to title, it released, and then what it's written as is the seller will credit us that amount at closing, and that was able to keep everything the way it was supposed to be, but this paperwork had to be done right.
And it was funny because it kind of made me laugh because you think the math works. Like, okay, well, the way you first said it, the math works. Well, math and accounting are two different things.
Somebody write that down as a mantra. Math and accounting are not the same thing.
Not the same thing. And that's really what it ended up being. The register has to balance, and that's the accounting part of it. So it's little things like that come into play. One of the things to be careful with is when people they're in forbearance, they don't understand that is actually that is added onto to the end, but it's added on the end as a second lien. And we've had people get to closing and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know about this second lien, and we now can't close because now they're bringing 40 grand to the table."
What is forbearance?
Well, basically, it is what was going on with during COVID, where people could not make their mortgage payments. The lender would work with them. They would go into forbearance. They were saying, "Okay, we're not going to foreclose on you. We're going to take this amount of money that you're behind, and we're going to add it to the back end of your mortgage." And it was just to keep people out of foreclosure. But they do, and they always need to talk to their lender. In one of the cases with the one that recently, they said they just ended up, they stopped talking to their lender. They stopped talking to everybody. And now it has snowballed into where it is far worse than it could ever be. And the investor may not even be able to save them.
So one lesson learned with any kind of deal you're doing, whether it's real estate or, when I was in oil and gas, you can solve 90% of your problems by just having open communication throughout the whole thing. The problems really just get 10 times, 100 times worse when people stop talking. Regina and I owned a rent house for a while, and someone rented it from us, and she would never answer the calls. Never answered the calls. She was paying on time, but nobody would ever answer for some reason. We were trying to install a property manager. We drove by and realized someone else is living in the house.
Oh,
and so we eventually had to push them out. The crazy thing was, if she had just answered our phone call, we would have never driven over there and been the wiser.
Yeah.
She could have kept subleasing this thing. We
Yeah.
would have never known. But
And-
even, the people I'm working with now and buying their houses, because I always take their phone call, even if they have a concern, they have an issue, because they know they can speak to me basically within 15 minutes, we're always able to rectify
Yeah.
these issues. Just like you were explaining with your lender, keep talking to them. Just don't ghost them, and you can solve these
Well,
things.
And one of the things that I think is key is, and this has happened quite often, where an investor will get into a deal. They'll get into a deal. You've got $5,000 non-refundable, money down on this deal. Life happens. Something happens in their life where they're not going to be able to close on this deal, and they shut down. They don't talk to anybody. They don't talk to anybody. It's like,
Yep.
call me. I will find someone to take your place in that deal, and you at least get out and don't lose your money.
Yeah.
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Jeff can help you with that. We can all help you with that. Just don't shut down.
Right. Guys, this is Chantal with Fidelity National Title. Please do utilize her office. We've got several files open with them. Thank you again
Yep.
so
We're
much
all over
for
the
hanging out.
city, all over the state, all over the nation.
Yep. Reach out to
Uh-huh.
Chantal if you have a file, and she will help you out. Thanks you again for
Thank
hosting
you,
us
thank
for
you,
Power Hour.
thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. So I'm Regina. You may have met me on the very first podcast, and I told the story of how Power Hour started. But I know Jeremy doesn't want me to do this, but
Oh,
it is his birthday. So can we get it one more time, guys, from the audience here? Let's do it.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Everybody come into the Happy birthday, dear Jeremy. Happy birthday to you.
oh, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. This is